Hello, everyone, and welcome to this year's Demo Fest. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. This year, Demo Fest transcends boundaries, and we're bringing together projects from not only the Data Science Fellowship, but also the Data Analytics Bootcamp, and that's why we're excited to be doing this for the first time. We are truly in for a treat tonight. For everyone watching, please drop in some comments there in the Zoom chat box, and we'd be glad to entertain it later on. My name is Val Vestille, Executive Director of AEDGE, an ecological literacy nonprofit organization, and I will be your host and moderator for tonight. Isa lang po ang masasabi ko, TGIAF. Hindi po TGIF, but thank God it's almost Friday because it's a Thursday. And what better way to spend your Thursday night than joining us here to see how we can reimagine the future with data. Before we start our event, I'd like to call on Aurelian Chu, co-founder and CEO of Eskwelabs, to say a few words.
All right. Thank you, Val. And thank you to our guests. Whether you are here to support our learners, curious about data in general, or are already a data professional, we welcome everyone to tonight's event and hope that you will all get something meaningful out of this. The Demo Fest showcase here is the culmination of our students' work across our different boot camps, and we hope their projects will push you to imagine the possibilities that we can make real with data analytics and data science. The projects tonight are going to showcase data analysis across a number of different fields, from HR, environment, energy, and even video games. So training needs analysis, CO2 emissions analysis, the power grid of the Visayas transmission simulations, and player retention in the gaming realm. Quite a swath of different projects. At the same time, we are also going to hear from a student project focusing on using something you've heard about, the ChatGPT large language model, and specifically the ChatGPT API for a very cool data science project. And powerful new AI technologies like ChatGPT are really at the heart of advances in data science, as well as what we are positioning ourselves to teach at Eskwelabs. So expect much, much more of this in our future cohorts. Now, thank you to our learners for working hard on creating your projects that you will showcase tonight. Thank you to our judges and panelists for joining us. And finally, thank you to you, our amazing audience, who can witness here the beauty of data analytics and data science with the next generation of data professionals. And who knows, maybe you can be a part of our next cohort. And thank you once again for joining us. And tonight, let's reimagine the future with data.
Thank you, Aurelian, for that warm introduction and for reminding us that the work that we do is current, timely, and relevant to the needs of today. Actually, I'm a bit biased for this evening's set of capstone projects. This is my nth time hosting for Eskwelabs Demo Day. Thank you so much, Eskwelabs, for the invitation. And we've had all kinds and types of capstone projects, and the set of projects here this evening is just within my lane. And so I'm so excited to hear these capstone projects. And I hope our members and audiences here on the Zoom chat room are as excited as we are. So please tell us where you're watching from. Hello to all of you from Negros Occidental, Mangabida, and of course to our friends in Quezon City and Camsur as well. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, sino ba tayo? Ano bang ginagawa natin? This is Eskwelabs, and we have the Data Literacy Skill Course, which is Skills Course, which is a 4-week-long free program that focuses on basic data skills. This program is currently exclusive to our partner FH Moms. I believe FH Moms is a Tayo awardee as well. The Data Analytics Bootcamp is a 9-week-long bootcamp and is focused on teaching data analytics, storytelling, and visualization, as well as tools like Power BI, SQL, Google BigQuery, and Google Data Studio to help current and future professionals answer business questions with data. And of course, we have the Data Science Fellowship, which is a 15-week-long bootcamp divided in four sprints that are 2 weeks long each, a 1 week mid bootcamp break, followed by the final 6 weeks of the program dedicated to creating the fellows' capstone project creation. The fellows learn to use tools such as GitHub, Matplotlib, Pandas, SQL, Scikit-learn, and Streamlit. So if these things interest you, and if you want to help out the society, our society in terms of data analytics, please join in. So tonight we are here to celebrate and witness the hard work of our different learners as they present their bootcamp projects in this Demo Fest showcase. Tonight's event will feature 3 projects created by our learners from the Data Analytics Bootcamp and the Data Science Fellowship. And here's the best part. You will be able to see them live today, and you can even rewatch their presentations along with more projects from our learners in a YouTube playlist that we will be making. So we'll keep you posted on our Facebook page. Make sure to like us. It's www.facebook.com/Eskwelabs for your updates. And not only that, we actually have a bunch of free surprises by the end of the night. So stick around to find out. Now, the first half of our Demo Day showcase will feature 2 projects. One will look into the current state of Vietnam in terms of its carbon emissions, and another will be discussing improving outage understanding and enhancing warning systems of the Visayas grid. So for all our friends from Visayas, this is definitely for you. And after the first half, we will take a quick break, recharge, stretch those muscles before we dive into our last bootcamp project and other surprises we have for the evening. The last bootcamp group will look into helping local game developers succeed in the gaming industry. Those are our lineup of capstone projects for presentation this evening. And if you're here supporting a project or supporting your friends, please do give them a shout out in the Zoom chat box. Maybe they're feeling some nerves dito sa ating virtual backstage, no? So give them your support and give them your love as we head on over to the presentation. Ayun, shout out daw para sa Team Tank from Rainier Moreno. Good evening to you, and thank you so much for your energy. Also, the Eskwelabs team has a special discount promo for all cohort 12 applicants. So if you want to get this promo code, stick around until the end so you can get that exclusively here on our Demo Fest. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest panel for this evening who will give us who has a very important job to give us insights and comments as we proceed to the presentations for this evening. The first panelist is driven by a lifelong love of games. They found a career in game development and currently working as a level designer and quality assurance tester at a California-based game studio. Their expertise lies in casual mobile puzzle games, focusing on game and level design. Over the past year, they discovered a newfound fascination with the world of data, delving deep into the realm of data analytics to mine valuable insights that enhance player experiences and optimize game mechanics through data-informed design. Our first panelist is Chelsea Carranza. Our next panelist graduated with a degree of Bachelor of Science in Computer Science with specialization in Linux Systems Administration. They are currently a data operations professional of data operations, data control of data and analytics in ING Hubs Philippines. In line with their current role, they're also the automations team lead for data operations and data control, serving as a Scrum Master and developer in project initiatives, and the communications and content people working group production team director that supports the bank in its data literacy content creation. They are also currently the technical and multimedia ministry director for Servants of Christ Christian Community. Our second panelist for tonight is Asaph Vega. Up next, we have a trailblazing professional. They lead as a head of strategic marketing and the fourth pillar group at SN Aboitiz Power Group, steering transformative strategies and fostering sustainability as a committee member. Their international business adeptness shines as the company's representatives to the American, European, and Nordic chambers of commerce in the Philippines. Their educational journey spans a master's in theology from Franciscan University of Steubenville, a master's in management from Asian Institute of Management, and a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from UP Visayas. And that is no less than Sean Buico joining us as a guest panelist. Finally, we have someone who has worked at Cebu Pacific and Smart Communications as a data science manager. They led in the development of data-driven solutions across various departments across the organization. A member of the Computer Vision and Machine Intelligence Group Laboratory at the Department of Computer Science in UP Diliman. Currently the head of data science at SN Aboitiz Power, leading in the development of data science projects and upskilling of citizen data scientists across the organization. We have our final guest panelist for tonight, Joel Capistrano. I think it's very clear that the amount of credibility within this room, thanks to our guest panelists, is unparalleled. And these, of course, these guest panelists have really been handpicked by the Eskwelabs team to make sure that they're both diverse as well as tailor fit to the specific capstone topics that our fellows have worked on for the past couple of weeks. And you, our audience members here in the Zoom room, are very much part of this experience with us. We're making sure that you join us alongside our panel of judges, and we encourage and invite you to send in your own questions for the learners later on during our Q&A through the Dory link, which is now shared on the screen and now will be sent over in the chat after our learners present and have their Q&A with their judges. They will be answering your questions in the Dory link that is flashed on the screen. So don't be shy and send in your questions as we go through the presentations. And with that, I think we are now ready and excited to hear from our first presenter for this evening. Now, Vietnam's high reliance on fossil fuels greatly contributes to its CO2 emissions. And to mitigate this, Vietnam must pivot towards renewable sources of energy and decarbonize its industries in order for them to reach their emission reduction goals. I am very pleased to introduce our first group for the evening with their capstone project, Road Towards a Greener Vietnam. Please welcome Faye, Nestor, and Rizal.
Horton, and we will be presenting our Sprint 1 output, where we were tasked to act as youth delegates representing the country of Vietnam in the UN Climate Conference. So how does Vietnam contribute to climate change, particularly in terms of carbon emissions, and what can the country do to mitigate this pressing problem? Vietnam has been identified to be one of the top 5 countries likely to be most affected by climate change. Therefore, it is crucial for the country to do its part and make significant efforts to reduce its contribution to global climate change. Failing to do so would mean endangering the lives of its next generations, and this begs the questions, what is the future of Vietnam, and what is the future waiting for kids like Hao? According to a study from Climate Watch, Vietnam's greenhouse gas emissions could quadruple in year 2050 if it fails to implement its decarbonization policies. And looking at the country's economic outlook, its population is expected to reach 109 million in 2050, or a 13 million increase from the latest number. Meanwhile, Its government targets to double its GDP per capita in 2030 and increase it eightfold in 2050. Given that these two are the primary drivers of carbon emissions, its ambitious outlook could lead to an abysmally high growth in the country's carbon emissions in the coming years, eventually leading to serious environmental and economic consequences, as well as affecting the well-being of its citizens. So what is the current state of Vietnam's CO2 emissions? Vietnam's CO2 emissions is relatively low compared to other nations, but comparing it to its neighboring countries in Southeast Asia, in the same income group, Vietnam produces relatively high CO2 emissions than the group's average. Now, let's take a deeper dive of what's really driving Vietnam's CO2 emissions.
So, how exactly has Vietnam's carbon emissions grown over the years? This chart shows how each driver of CO2 emissions affects the total carbon emissions contribution. We can see that GDP per capita has been the major driver of CO2 emissions and was a stronger driver than population. Meanwhile, as they drive carbon emissions upward, carbon and energy intensities tell us how well the country manages the effects of its growing economy. Looking at the global arena, it can be observed that annual CO2 emissions strongly reflect the population size, since more people would mean more demand for energy, which is derived primarily from fossil fuel. However, looking at the data for Vietnam, CO2 emissions are much more sensitive to the other drivers. As evidenced by the previous graph for emission drivers, Vietnam's rise in wealth strongly translates to higher CO2 emissions. This is due to increased access to consumption of electricity, transport, and other goods which require energy inputs from fossil fuel dependent sources. Now let's take a deeper analysis on how effectively the country was able to manage their energy and carbon intensities to offset the increasing GDP per capita and population.
Looking at the next driver, the energy intensity answers the question, how efficient is Vietnam's energy conversion to a unit of GDP? Here we have to note that lower intensity equates to efficiency, resulting to lower carbon emission. In the graph, we can see the evident increase in energy intensity starting in 2014. This can be attributed to the expansion in the manufacturing sector and growth in the transportation sector. Also, it was reported that hydroelectric power utilization was reduced due to droughts in 2014 and in early 2015 that led to increase in fossil fuel usage for power generation. To support the previous analysis, we can see in the increasing energy-related carbon emission contributed primarily by the power and industry sectors, which accounts to 49% and 29% respectively. Let us now look at the last driver, the carbon intensity. Shown is the breakdown of the power sector's components, or what we call the energy mix. We see here that only 14% comes from renewable energy, and the majority is from the fossil fuel at 84%, which shows Vietnam's heavy reliance to fossil fuels, particularly to coal at 50%. Given the trends and the current situation of Vietnam, what can we do to help secure the future of Vietnam one green step at a time?
We have conducted a case study to compare Vietnam with Philippines, a country in the same income group as Vietnam and has a comparable population and is also highly dependent on coal as its energy source. Despite having comparable attributes with Vietnam, Philippines has managed to have less CO2 per capita and a more gradual increase in its coal-derived CO2 emissions starting from year 2000. How has the Philippines managed to achieve this gradual increase in coal emissions? The country has increased its focus on developing renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, hydropower, and geothermal energy. It has adopted policies which encourage the adoption of cleaner and more efficient practices by promoting sustainable development, conducting environmental impact assessments, and implementing pollution control measures. Lastly, It has also adopted projects such as using clean coal technologies and CDM projects, which play crucial roles in achieving emission reduction targets.
Benchmarking from these current policies, there is an opportunity for Vietnam to expand its renewable energy sector. Vietnam has potential, especially in its wind and solar power capability. The geographic position of Vietnam is strategic with a 650 gigawatt wind power potential and 380 gigawatt solar power potential. In fact, its solar power capability has been expanding and currently houses the largest solar project in Southeast Asia. In addition to the power sector, Vietnam also has an opportunity to improve other sectors such as transport, building, and manufacturing sectors into low-carbon industries.
In conclusion, our group was able to identify that Vietnam's CO2 emission is greater than the Southeast Asian lower middle income countries' average. Next, GDP per capita and population are the strongest drivers of CO2 emission in Vietnam. However, can be managed by energy and carbon intensity levels. Also, coal CO2 has the greatest impact in terms of CO2 emission from 2000 up to present. And lastly, in order to Vietnam to reach its carbon emission reduced goals and secure its future for the next generation to come, it must pivot towards renewable energy source of energy and decarbonize its industries. Given this, here are our recommendations. First, invest in renewable energy, especially on wind and solar power as identified with a high potential. Next, decarbonize the transport sector by including policy support for electric vehicles and transport switch from private vehicle to public transport. Also, introduce policy to phase out fossil fuel cars to reduce fuel and oil consumption. And enforce strict compliance under the Energy Efficiency Building Code to achieve energy efficiency in design and building materials. And with that, we look forward to your support and collaboration in mitigating the effects of CO2 emission to pave way for a happier, safer, and healthier how. Thank you, and we are now open for your questions.
Incredible work, Team Carbon Emissions. Maraming salamat for that presentation. Sorry, nahulog ata. Thank you so much for that presentation. And I think if I were the government of Vietnam, I'll find so much value in that capstone project of yours. Again, for our audience, as mentioned in the chat, please feel free to head on over to the Dory link to send in your inquiries for the group, and we will answer this during the Q&A or reply to them directly after. Sorry, yeah. I'd like to call on now Asaph Vega to join us for Team Carbon Emissions panel segment. It's time for our first round of Q&A for our data analytics learners. Asaph?
Hi, thanks, Val. So can you hear me loud and clear?
Loud and clear,
Loud
Asaph.
and clear. So, wow, it's nice to be back here and beautiful project showcase from the fellows, right? So actually, I have a couple of questions. So I think I can see them right now. They're opening their cameras. So, all right. So, uh, first things first, I want to focus on the storytelling, of course, and the literacy of the data you presented. And I just want to clarify or ask, who is your target audience here? I mean, this is an interesting topic, CO2 emissions, and I want to know who is your target audience? Is it the government or some specific NGOs or something? Maybe.
Hi, good evening.
Mhm.
Actually, our target audience here are the UN delegates. So we're acting as youth delegates in a global conference, and yep. So they're our target audience.
All right. Okay. Okay. I just want to make sure of on that one, on that part, and I think we can move a little bit on the recommendation part because that's where I want to focus in right now, and I have a couple of questions here. And you mentioned you recommended to invest more in wind and solar power, right? Is that if I noted that correctly? I just want to know, is there any specific stakeholder or any group of um, people or companies that you would like to work on with, especially for this kind of project?
Any one of our team members can answer that question.
Because you mentioned the Daotiang Solar Power Complex, right? And I think that's a great opportunity to have at least let's just say it's a great start. So I think we can consider that. Do you agree with me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
All
yes,
right.
sir. I
Okay.
agree with you.
Don't call me sir. But yeah, I'm just checking the the details, right? So, and the next item that I want to clarify is that um, the energy efficiency building code that you mentioned earlier. Sorry, I think I am having a feedback here. But the energy efficiency building code, is it the building code from the Philippines or the Vietnam? This is all in your recommendations.
It's in the Energy Efficiency Building Code of Vietnam.
All right, okay. Because I'm seeing the last part, the part where you mentioned that to enforce the strict compliance in the energy efficiency building code. And during your case study and the data you presented, you mentioned going back to that word strict compliance, I just wanted to at least know is where on um, which part of at least the code itself is Vietnam lacking to implement, or are there any gaps on that code as well? I think that's one thing that I would have wanted to see on the presentation itself, right? But regardless on that detail, I think all the details, all the questions that I noted here right now, is I think pretty clear. And I just have one more question. So part of being, having the data analyzed, um, I want to know if what are your recommendations besides the facts that you stated. What are your recommendations for community engagement? Because I believe in order for that, for example, the CO2 emissions that you presented, the data that you presented, are there, this is a personal question. How will you, as a fellow here, will um, do the community engagement because for me personally, I'm losing my green energy forest and Gcash. So I think I just wanted to get your personal insights on that one.
Hi, this is Nestor. So with regards to your question, so personally, I would think, or I would suggest or initiate some sort of a recycling drive, wherein, especially now at this age, we have these lots of electronic gadgets that seems to have been, it's either damaged or needs to be upgraded. So with that, there could, I think there's an initiative initiated by SM, if I'm not mistaken, with regards to electronic waste. So with that, we could promote that in terms of recycling, and also to manage our waste in terms of electronics. So in that way, we could at least help reduce the waste that is being generated. So the less waste that we generate,
Mhm.
the more efficient the
All right. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Nestor. No. Besides that, I just want to check your I just want to check your insights regarding your project. And just to close it off, a few points that I want to share with you is that when I saw there's a lot of terminologies that you incorporated in your presentation, and um, some of the people maybe will not know what are the acronyms on the part. So I would suggest that we could have at least legends, or at least I mean something to let them know what the acronyms are. And of course, the opportunities, I think it's best to partner it with the recommendation, because I think the structure is opportunities, conclusion, and then recommendation, which you did. But I think it's a great structure. But I personally, I would have structured it um, in partnership with the opportunities and the recommendation. So um, as part of your data storytelling, I think that would be a great addition to let your audience know um, what are your next steps for this one. And of course, picture speaks a thousand words, thousands of words, and that would be something to start off. And lastly, I think the overall of the storytelling and the follow-ups that you mentioned to me, I think with that data, with that presentation that you did, um, it's a great opportunity, especially for the project itself, to make everyone literate, right? Data literate of your project. So I think that's all of the points that I have for you, and I hope you follow up on this project, because this is a very very interesting project. And hope to see you achieve see great success in this one.
thank you so much for the very insightful inputs.
Thank you very much, Asaph, and congratulations to Team Think Tank for that very wonderful presentation. Maraming salamat sa inyo, and I think it's nice to be able to see how carbon emissions are being had in our neighboring countries around the region, in the ASEAN region, and see how much data can actually guide and inform us in decision making when it comes to policies related to climate action. So maraming salamat, Team Think Tank. And of course, thank you so much, Asaph, for your inputs on the Capstone project. Speaking of carbon emissions, let us now be in conversation about energy. This next Capstone project conducts a comprehensive network analysis of the Visayas grid. Let us please give a warm welcome to Pau, Jeremiah, Kurt, Jello, with their project VTS, Visayas Transmission Simulator. Here we go.
Do you hate brownouts? Worry less. We're here to light it up with VTS, the Visayas Transmission Simulator. Electricity is essential. Blackouts look like a temporary hassle, but they have severe effects in our society. Sadly, our kababayas in Visayas has been experiencing a power crisis for years, which the energy stakeholders have yet to solve. Another gap is the timeliness in updates. NGCP posts in social media more than an hour after the blackout occurs. Much later are news outlets which report many hours later. It's great not having blackouts, but the next best option is getting access to real-time updates to help plan for the day, which most people don't know is actually available to the public. NGCP's live updates are published on the market operator's website. The updates indicate the location, time, and affected plant or transformer or line. It also includes grid updates and yellow and red alerts. And as you may notice by now, the information, though public, is technical and needs an expert's translation. Our project aims to address the gap in addressing the live advisories, particularly for line outages. We aim to improve warning systems by doing a network analysis of the Visayas grid. This would help the public understand what caused the blackout in their area. Our project has scope and limitations that are important to note. The power flow directions assume that supply meets the demand. Only major transmission lines are considered. Line capacities are at a normal threshold. The data were from the market network model. To analyze the Visayas network, we began by web scraping advisories from the IMAP website. We then pre-processed the text in preparation of the EDA, which was done to identify patterns or trends that may be present. Next was a network analysis for centrality measures to identify the important nodes in the network which, when affected, would cause blackouts on a lot of areas. We then developed a Streamlit app to allow users to simulate line outages. The app also identifies the affected DUs and customers, enhancing the understanding of line outage impact on communities.
So we've selected the Visayas grid for our analysis as it is particularly vulnerable to natural disasters such as typhoons and earthquakes, which can lead to transmission issues. Additionally, the grid has limited interconnections, reducing its flexibility in managing fluctuations. The Visayas grid also experiences higher transmission losses due to the extensive distances between lines, resulting in inefficiencies. Furthermore, the region's scattered island geography presents unique challenges for infrastructure expansion, making it a compelling case study for our research. And based on our EDA, we have discovered that a significant portion of advisories in Visayas are related to line outages, with 75% of all advisories falling under this category. Furthermore, our findings show that the majority of line advisories are related to energizing and de-energizing as well as line trippings. We observed that line trippings and restorations in the Visayas region display a random occurrence pattern. This indicates an absence of identifiable, consistent factors or triggers, making it challenging to predict or prevent such events. As a result, it is crucial to further investigate and develop strategies to mitigate the impact of these unpredictable occurrences on the power system. So now, let's move on to Jed as we discuss the network analysis.
Our network analysis project begins by manually constructing the network based on the single line diagram for the Visayas grid extracted April 2023. To visualize the network, we utilize Network X to create different types of graphs, including simple graphs, directed graphs, interactive HTML network graphs, and base map graphs. Next, we calculated centrality metrics such as degree centrality, eigencentrality, and betweenness to determine the importance of nodes and edges based on their connectivity in the network. The centrality scores were normalized for accurate comparison and ranking. Lastly, for the deployment, we want to simulate potential line outages and adding new lines for the future projects of NGCP. Our network consists of 46 substations represented as nodes and 50 lines represented as edges. The nodes are color-coded based on their minor grids. Then, using degree centrality, we identified the important nodes in each minor grid cluster. This measure captures the local importance of nodes, so we want to capture at least one important node per minor grid, which are Colon, Ormoc, Cebu, Amlan, Bacolod, and Santa Barbara. For eigencentrality, the top 5% of nodes, approximately 3 nodes, were considered important. Cebu, Colon, and Quezon emerged as the most crucial nodes. In fact, a recent major outage affected the minor grids of Cebu, Leyte Samar, and Panay due to line tripping between these substations. Nodes between Mabinay and Compostela demonstrated significant betweenness centrality, indicating their importance in connecting edges across the network. Just to further enhance our network visualization, we overlaid it on a base map using Contextly with the OpenStreetMap provider. The node coordinates were obtained from Google Maps, and we added labels and lines to accurately depict the network on the map. Displayed here are the key substations discussed earlier, showcasing their important locations within the network. We used all of these network models in a directed graph for the simulation stage of our project, which Kurt will now discuss.
So as reported by Jed, with the high centrality scores of Cebu, Colon, and Quezon nodes, as well as the high betweenness along the Sambuan, Colon, Cebu, Compostela lines, we looked for a significant blackout event in Visayas revolving around the said nodes. This article titled Blackout as Lightning Hits NGCP Transmission Line in Cebu was released August 22, 2021. That is Sunday at midnight. That's over 24 hours after the incident. We quoted some snippets in the article. Number one, the Colon Cebu 138 kilovolt line and Colon Quezon 138 kilovolt line stripped. Number two, blackout in areas covered by Cebu, Leyte, Samar, Bohol portion of the Visayas grid starting at 11:56 p.m. Friday. Number three, the Negros and Panay portions of the grid were spared. So with this, we looked through the advisories on the same day and found out that the line outage was actually reported just 8 minutes after the incident. Now let's see if our simulation using Network X is aligned with the snippets from the article. So from the Streamlit app, we can input the reported lines that went out. As you can see on the right side of the map, the Cebu, Leyte, Samar, Bohol subgrids were affected by the outage, while the Negros and Panay subgrids on the left side were spared. So that is exactly what was reported 24 hours after the incident. Additionally, we got a list of cooperatives, distribution utilities, and high-consuming customers, along with the information on which node they are connected to. The information is also included in the Streamlit app. This will help a consumer check immediately if their provider is affected by the outage. This can also be used by business owners as seen on the table on the right. Now, aside from a past event, we also simulated one future plan from NGCP's Transmission Development Plan for 2040. So currently, Cebu, Leyte, and Bohol are connected radially. If you can see the purple line, so that is prone to isolation as seen in the simulations earlier. Additional transmission backbone to Bohol from Cebu, if you look at the green line, will be constructed since the island does not have a sufficient generation capacity and is only dependent on its Leyte connection. So using Network X again, with Bohol already being supplied by Cebu and converting that radial network to a loop, no significant outages were seen in the simulation given the same event. So in conclusion, the NGCP published texts, although very technical, are great sources of electricity grid information and can be made available and understandable by the public through the use of data science techniques. Network analysis using the Visayas grid single line diagram can be used to determine the importances of the electricity grid nodes. Network X is a powerful solution to pinpoint nodes affected by line outages. Lastly, an additional layer of information on the node connections of cooperative distribution utilities and contestable customers makes the project relatable to the regular customer.
In terms of recommendations, we propose the following. Firstly, under project improvement, we suggest incorporating line capacities as well as supply and demand data into the network to accurately simulate a typical grid scenarios. Secondly, we recommend implementing real-time simulations to promptly identify affected nodes and customers. Lastly, we advise extending our analysis to include the Luzon and Mindanao grids for a comprehensive understanding of the entire power system of the Philippines. Moving on to power grid development, we recommend the following. Besides suggesting of adding a transmission backbone from Cebu to Bohol to enhance interconnectivity and improve power supply reliability between the two islands from the simulation that we showed earlier, we propose additional transmission lines to and from Cebu, the load and supply center, to better manage power distributions and meet growing demand. We also recommend strengthening the grid resilience of critical nodes such as Colon, Cebu, Ormoc, Bacolod, and Amlan to minimize the impact of natural disasters and maintain stable power supply. Furthermore, we advise grid reinforcements in Panay Island to support the increasing demand from Boracay Island's thriving tourism industry. And lastly, we recommend constructing new generating units on isolated Visayas islands like Bohol, Iloilo, and Siquijor to ensure adequate power supply during line outage situations and promote self-sufficiency in these provinces. So if you want to further explore the Visayas power grid, you can visit our app by scanning the QR code below. Your engagement can help us spark innovative solutions. Again, Thank you for your time and for keeping the current flowing with us.
Let's give our virtual applauses over here in the Zoom room for Team VTS. Thank you so much for that presentation. That was smooth like butter. You know, power outages are more often than not an impediment, to our productivity and even to our everyday living. And as someone who was born in the Visayas, shout out sa mga Bisaya diha. We thank you for this capstone project and for your recommendations as well. Everyone, to our audiences, you know the drill. If you have questions, please feel free to head on over to the Dory link to send in your inquiries for the group, and we will answer them during the Q&A or reply to them directly after. We have feedback here, sabi ni Andrea Aviles, as someone who lives in the Visayas. This sounds amazing. I'd love to literally not be left in the dark about this. Thank you, Andrea. And surely with the capstone project of Team VTS, baka naman matulungan talaga natin ang ating intentions or insights on the power outages happening in the Visayas, something really relevant that needs to be acted on right now. So it's time for the Q&A segment with our panel of judges, starting with our main panelist for Team VTS, Joel Capistrano and Shan Buico. Go ahead for your questions, insights, and other recommendations for the capstone project. Good evening to both of you.
Good evening, Val. I'm not sure who goes first, Joel or myself.
Go ahead, Sean.
Okay,
Yes.
I have three questions. The first question is, well, first of all, congratulations to the presenters. I thought it's very interesting. It so happened that myself and Joel here are both in the power sector. So we have questions that are particularly more pointed than you would expect. So the first question that I would like to ask the presenters would be, this proposal, who are your segments? Who do you wish to serve as far as this project is concerned?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I thank you for that question, sir. Well, initially, with the availability of the app, our ultimate goal is to make this available to all energy consumers. So that is, of course, all households, commercial establishments, and some larger industries. But at the very least, we want this to reach LGUs and distribution utilities, which are the authorities when it comes to these incidents, since they have the ability to further disseminate the information. But with the simulations that we've done, actually, we can also, I think we can also make the study available to transmission planning, energy market analysts, traders, and several others in the power industry.
That's very interesting. The next question is, obviously, this has potential, as you correctly pointed out. But my next question is, how do you intend to monetize it? I think that got you off guard. It cannot be purely charity, right? You're going to invest money on technology. You have to invest money on how to gather data, etc. How do you intend to monetize it? You want to make the app available to all people, but is it charity?
Well, as a group, we haven't actually discussed about that. But personally, actually two of us from the group works also in the power industry. So we can actually have this be used on our own companies. But I don't know, that's my personal take on it. I don't know about my
It's okay, Kirk. You don't have to answer now. But all I'm saying is that if you're in the development of the project further, you may want to look about the question on how to monetize this project. And before I give the floor to my fellow with our fellow panelists, the third question is really a comment and also a question. NGCP is mandated for stability of the grid, right? And they actually have, and of course, real-time information is very important. As far as I know, NGCP, that is NGCP's mandate. So The only what's holding them back is they lack manpower as far as providing information is concerned, because their priority right now is building transmission lines. I think that much is obvious. So the question now is that at some point they will be able to complete the transmission lines and they will be able to provide real-time information to the market. If and when that happens, then the question of sustainability and business continuity, as far as this project is concerned, comes into play, because NGCP can provide that same information a year from now, 2 years from now, to the entire market. So how do you answer as far as the business continuity is concerned?
Hello, Sean. Thank you very much for
Hi,
the
Pao. Yeah.
question. Um,
I
again,
think I'm catching you all off guard.
yes,
I apologize for that.
definitely. No worries. Those are great questions. But for the business continuity, I think it's gonna benefit everyone if that when that happens, when NGCP is able to provide the real time data in the future. But for now, what our app could help NGCP with is the simulation of the future grids they would construct, and also helping them identify which grids they should focus on for their resiliency. So I think that's where the business would come in.
Thank you, Pao. I assure you they have a lot of really good data people and engineers, and yeah, they can actually track all these things. My impression right now is they are unable to do so, mainly because they lack manpower. But once that is corrected, then yeah. In any case, those are all my questions. Thank you, Pao, Kurt, Jello.
Thank you so much, Sean. Go ahead, Joel.
Okay, hello. Good evening, everyone, and great work. So, through network analysis, you were able to show that we can get timely and valuable information from the system operator advisories. And I agree with your recommendation that integrating line capacities, supply, and demand, and other information to the network will give more accurate simulations. So, just have a few questions. So, first, I'm curious to know if you encountered any challenge when it comes to processing the raw system operator advisories data. So if so, what were those challenges?
Oh, yeah, I can answer that one. Hi, Joel, I'm Jello. So one of the challenges that we face in the raw data is that it is an unstructured data. So it's purely text. And also, if it's purely text, we can like use some text analysis, techniques to manipulate it. But the problem is like the advisory doesn't have like same structure to all of their for all of their announcement, all of their advisories. So therefore I think that's the most crucial part, because at first we're planning to do it in the whole Philippine electricity grid. But the thing is, the structure of the text in Luzon and Visayas is not the same, and the same is Mindanao. So for me, yeah, the text being unstructured at the same time, it doesn't have any like defined structure for all of those advisories. So we cannot find any pattern if we want to get something.
Okay, and what particular uh techniques or methods that did you apply in processing the SO advisories, given that there's the pattern is not as uniform, or it's not as clean as we would like it to be?
Yeah, so the advisories are only used to the EDA part when we get to know like what the data looks like. So as you can see in our presentation earlier, we just focus on like more specific things, for example, like lines. So we just filter all of those advisories that is about lines, and then from there are times that we just like manually really encode it. because there's really a lot of errors in terms of the spelling, in terms of the structures, like extra spaces, that if we use text analysis or text techniques, it will be more challenging. So we just manually encode it.
Okay, thanks. Actually, we did something similar back then for the zone grid, so we encountered the same same challenge. Yep. Hey, so okay, so another question. So this is my last question. So I'm sure you did an extensive EDA on the system operator advisories. So in using the SO advisories alone, would it be possible to predict future incidents? So, for example, predicting the likelihood of a transmission line to trip in the next few hours based on the latest set of advisories. So, do you think something like that can be done, given the data at hand?
Yeah, go for it.
Uh,
Yeah, you can
I'm
answer
sorry.
it.
To answer the question, I'm not exactly with line outages, but given the set of data that we were able to restructure, given with the system operator advisory, so we have grid updates, we have yellow and red alerts, um, and some other data. We actually have had plans on predicting yellow and red alerts, predicting well, for yellow and red alerts we can yellow alert means critical supply level, and then red alerts mean the demand is greater than the supply, or there can be rotational power interruptions. Um, will be rotational power interventions will be implemented during specific hours if that happens. So that was initially one of our plans to predict yellow and red alerts from NGCP. Not the line outages, because line outages are mostly um external affected by external factors, so we can't actually, as mentioned by Jello in the EDA, the occurrences are very random.
Hey, thank you. I think that's so great. Again, great work, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you so much to very insightful comments and suggestions and questions. Thank you so much, Shan and Joel, for those. Congratulations, Team VTS. Before we meet our next group of learners, I'd like to remind the audience that you can send over your questions through the fellows by going to the Dory link shown on the screen. And if you already see a similar question, you may click on the thumbs up to upvote it. All right, let's get to it. I hope you're all excited to meet our final group and our last capstone project for the night. Now, their project is a machine learning model which predicts whether a game will have a high or low retention based on features such as player behavior and number of reviews, among others. Please give a warm welcome to our final bootcamp presenters, Patrick, G and Ace, Jamie, and Kim, with player retention in the gaming realm. Here we go.
Presenting Leveling Up with Data Science, Player Retention in the Gaming Realm. According to Statista, the Philippine gaming industry earned 78 trillion in 2020 and is expected to grow up to 121 trillion by 2027. There is a massive market that can be taken advantage of by local developers such as the Game Developers Association of the Philippines. However, even with the home field advantage, Filipino developers have a hard time finding success in the market. Leading us to the problem, the Philippine gaming industry is highly valued, but local game developers struggle to succeed as stakeholders within the ecosystem. So, how does the typical player journey start and end with games? People who want to play a game will buy it and then they will play it to completion or stop playing the game. The key here is player retention, the number of players engaged with the game. A high retention rate means players are engaged. It promotes community building, which can be used as a source of user feedback to ensure the success of current and future games.
For our methodology, first we gather data from two primary sources. We leverage the ROGI API to obtain a comprehensive list of games and its corresponding game developers. We also scrape data from the Steam API to gain insight into the cost of various games available on the platform. After acquiring the data, we merge the datasets obtained from the two different APIs. Then we clean this dataset by eliminating duplicates and by handling missing or null values to ensure the reliability and accuracy of our model. With a clean dataset, we move on to EDA. Here, we used correlation plots to understand the relationships between different variables. We also implemented outlier detection using the isolation forest to ensure that our model would not be swayed by extreme values. We then move into the phase of feature engineering, where we created new variables from existing features. This stage also involved selecting the most relevant features for our predictive model. For our model building stage, we experimented with 8 different ML models to find the best fit. Furthermore, we applied sampling methods to balance our dataset and hypertune the parameters of the selected model to optimize performance. The final step was to evaluate the chosen model. This involved identifying the most significant features and interpreting the model's decisions using SHAP values to get a deeper understanding of the model behavior.
After identifying the relevant features, correlation among numeric features was assessed using a correlation plot. Beaten or finished has a high correlation with the number of reviews, but was still retained as it is used to compute for retention. The feature may was observed to have a high correlation with the feature dropped. However, as other features related to customer ratings, such as exceptional, recommended, are not available, it was decided to exclude meh and retain dropped. Results show that ratings count is highly correlated with reviews count as they refer to the same metric, hence ratings count was excluded.
Our dataset was sourced from two major APIs, Rogi and Steam. The Rogi API provided us with a list of 30,251 games and its corresponding game developers. The Steam API offered us a data on the cost of these games which are available on their platform. After thorough pre-processing and cleaning of data, we were left with a total of 13,280 games. The significant reduction in the number of games from the Rogi API is due to missing values. Some games had missing cost, while others lacked information about game genres and player types. To ensure data integrity, we removed these entries from our dataset. The features we use can be broadly categorized into three types. Target feature, which is the retention tag if a game has greater than or equal to 10% retention rate. Numerical features, such as number of reviews, player behavior, and cost of the game. And lastly, categorical features such as game genre, console availability, market availability, franchise and developer, and player type. A total of 57 columns were used for the ML model, and the combination of these different types of features gave us a versatile dataset to train our model on.
After training the clean data on various models, gradient boosting classification emerged as the best model. Here are the specifications of the model. Random oversampling was used, and learning rate and estimators were the hypertuned parameters. Resulting recall scores of train, validation, and holdout datasets range from 81.9% to 85.7%. Analysis using Shapley values showed which features have the highest impact on model prediction. The feature importance plot shows that the number of features contributing to the prediction of the model are to play, number of reviews, dropped, and playtime. The graph on the right shows how high or low values of the features affect the model's prediction. It can be observed that the higher values shown as pink streaks on the plot of the features to play, review count, and playtime all contribute to the positive prediction of the model. Meanwhile, the third most important feature dropped has a negative impact since its higher values result to a negative prediction.
Now let's proceed with the conclusions and recommendations. According to our findings, the play is the most influential factor. Hence, we propose that developers need to leverage marketing strategies that spark player interest, aiming not just to meet but to exceed customer expectations. A case study illustrating this perfectly is Death Stranding. The game's promotional strategy went beyond simply highlighting the participation of high profile individuals. It was marketed as a Hideo Kojima creation, cultivating an aura of intrigue and expectation around it. When the game was released, Customers were satisfied with the game, and up to this day, Death Stranding is still very popular to the gaming community. The second most impactful feature of the model is the number of reviews a game has garnered. This serves as an indicator of a vibrant, engaged community around the game. That's why we strongly recommend that developers actively participate in community building efforts. This involves not just creating spaces for player interaction and discussion, but also fostering a sense of belongingness and inclusivity among its players. A shining example of robust community building can be seen with Portal 2. Launched all the way back in 2011, the game boasts an enduringly active community up to today, a testament to successful community cultivation. This sustained engagement has led to the creation of new gaming content and kept Portal 2 in high regard over the years. The dropped column is another crucial aspect. Notably, games with higher drop rates often exhibit addictive traits, issues within the community, and excessive banning. For a game to achieve high retention rates, we recommend that developers foster a climate of healthy engagement within their gaming communities. This includes ensuring that the game isn't designed to be overly addictive, curbing negative community behaviors, and implementing measures to discourage offensive language. An example that underscores these points is Dota 2. Despite its enormous popularity, international acclaim, and deep cultural penetration, the game is infamous for its issues with player bans, toxic community, and addictive nature. Finally, the playtime feature. Our data suggests that games with longer playtime typically have a higher retention rate. We recommend to developers to prioritize not just quality, but also quantity. When a game offers multiple layers to explore, a compelling storyline, a sense of progress, and numerous achievements to unlock, it heightens player engagement. Essentially, the more there is to discover and the richer the gameplay experience is, the higher the retention of the game. Red Dead Redemption 2 serves as a good example of this dynamic. Its success can be attributed not just to the high quality development and captivating narrative, but also to the vast array of experiences it offers to the players. Its depth of content and extensive playtime have contributed to its immense popularity.
So how can the results of the machine learning model help the Filipino game developers? The model has pointed out four significant factors that influence high retention rates of video games, namely to play, review count, drop, and playtime. Now, let's take a look at 10 games recently released by the Game Developers Association of the Philippines, or the GDAP. We observed that only 3 out of these 10 games had any substantial presence on social media, leading to a reduced reach and low public awareness. Social media platform offers an affordable, if not free, marketing channel, and developers should seize this opportunity to extend their reach, connect with potential users, and build a loyal customer base. Another crucial factor is the perception of the game's ongoing development and support. A case in point is that many promising games from Filipino developers suffered from a perception problem, infrequent updates that lead to a misunderstanding that the game had been cancelled. This indicates the vital role of regular updates and constant engagement with the player community. Thus, by maintaining a robust social media presence and keeping your player community engaged with frequent updates, developers can better ensure that their games are not just played but continue to retain a vibrant and active player base. These are straightforward yet powerful strategies that can have a significant impact on the success of the games. Now, for enhanced game development, we suggest diving deeper into time series analysis. This includes understanding playtime trends, in-game purchase behavior, and strategizing user segmentation. Additionally, harnessing NLP, or natural language processing, can gauge the game's social media impact and decode players' feedback from live streaming sessions. By focusing on these areas, we can better equip ourselves to navigate the evolving landscape of the gaming industry and build games that resonate with our players while ensuring sustained success. We have developed a predictive model to gauge a game's player retention rate. It considers multiple features including review count, average playtime, player intentions, game cost, genre, console availability, marketplace distribution, franchise status, and the reputation of the developer or publisher. It also factors in the type of gameplay, be it single or multiplayer, Our model provides an extensive view into what may influence a game's success in retaining players. You may scan the QR code to view our Streamlit app to know more about our project. And we are ChatGPT, and thank you for listening.
Ayun, virtual applauses to Team Jat GPT. Congratulations and thank you so much. Hindi ko nga alam na ang ating gaming industry ay nasa trillions na pala and projected even more, no? As the years come on. I think the gaming industry really boomed during the pandemic. We were all in our homes and we did nothing but play games. So thank you so much for that presentation. Napaka-relevant ng capstone project na to. And nakikita ko sa ating Zoom chat na may mga gamers tayo na present. No? So I think that was very interesting for them as well. You know the drill. Feel free to head on over to the Dory link to send your inquiries for the group, and the learners will answer this directly in the Dory after. It's now time for our final Q&A segment with our panelist, Chelsea Carranza, for Team Chat GPT. Chelsea, go ahead with your insights, comments, and questions. The floor is yours.
All right. Hi. Thank you, ChatGPT. That was awesome job. Very colorful and promising. I feel that your presentation was a very good overview, very clear and straightforward. So I'm not going to question it too much. Maybe just some things about did you have any challenges in acquiring the data for your model?
In terms of acquiring, we actually worked with an API, so it wasn't really much of a problem. That was a good thing in the project. But yeah, but the thing about the data set, it was only constricted in the API. So with Steam and Rogi, so we weren't able to really go beyond. So yeah, that's with the data set.
All right, because I noticed that for the categorical features, for game genres, there were 6 columns. Is that does that mean you only covered 6 genres overall, or that the games could cover 6 genres at max?
There were more, but yeah, we actually filtered them out. So, yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. I guess because when I first saw your presentation, I was super excited and I thought it was really good, but I feel it lacked insight into some of the things that we in the industry kind of look at every time we think of the success of a game. So like the genre, the player type or audience that we're going to be marketing to, the monetization scheme. So a lot of marketing related stuff, right? So and I felt like I was surprised that there was not much focus on the genre, but I'm guessing that was because of the data set. I also noticed for the number of reviews, was that broken down into like positive or negative, or just like a sum, like overall?
Hi,
Hi.
Jamie here. So, yeah, those were just number of reviews. Unfortunately, there wasn't any breakdown. Yeah, and you're right. It was mainly due to data constraints. We could
Right.
have added much more into the study.
Okay. I feel like if because bad press is bad press, right? You can have a lot of negative reviews, and that could mean player attention is not really that great. So I was just wondering if that was accounted for. Would the model at some point account for a time? For example, would there be like short-term retention or long-term retention analyses, or maybe accounting for the trends? So, for example, during pandemic, we all know the game Among Us, right? That game blew up because of a lot of streamers, influencers. So when things like that happen, would that be accounted for? Or if so, if not, like how would you do that?
For that one, our data set is a snapshot, unfortunately. So it's just a picture of the status of the game in one time period. In the future, we would love to have a time series analysis of how did the game perform? For example, during the pandemic, did it grow? Were there other factors involved? Did big streamers pick it up, which would help it? Were there any updates in the game? Any sales that would prop up more players to try the game? So hopefully, maybe in the future, if we were to have a better data source that's more time series related or in real
Mm,
time, it would
yeah,
be a good perspective on
that would
how a
be
game
nice.
really works. Yeah.
Right now, everything seems like a teaser. It's so interesting. And also another question I have is how did you pick out the games to use for the recommendations, which I feel was what if you presented this to like GDAP or any local game dev studio, that would be what would focus on. How did you pick out which games to use as an example?
Yeah, we chose the games that had like the most popular ones that it will kind of like ring a bell to the people.
Ah.
For example, for like for Portal 2, it was very popular, so that's why. But we also check like the different, for example, the longest games. We also chose like, okay, Red Dead Redemption is one of the longest games, so it's also one of the most popular games. So we use that as an example. So we both, the two variables that we chose for the recommendation was how popular the game was and also how high the variable that we're looking at.
Okay, that's very smart actually. I guess my only thing was if someone a gamer saw that, they would be like, okay, well, you can't really compare Dota to Red Dead Redemption. They're entirely different genres, entirely different player base. What would you say to that? Like would your recommendations apply across all genres or just like to specific ones? Yeah.
Yeah, even for okay, so for the even though Dota and Red Dead Redemption 2 are, very different in the way that we see it, like they had a very deep penetration to the market, and in terms of that, we kind of like viewed it in a sense on how impactful it is to the gaming community. So even though they're very different, they still have like the same magnitude of influence to us.
All right, that's fair. Thank you. So I guess my main other recommendation for improving this, of course, please do the time series. That would be so interesting to see. For improvement as well, I think specificity would be really good because a lot of existing case studies have already been done on player retention, and usually they're done on a specific genre or platform or monetization scheme. So like casual social mobile games or F2P free to play sports games, whichever features are the most defining, right? So, and especially since player preference and genre and platform play a huge role in determining the type of retention that you get, right? As for your other improvements, recommendations for improvement, definitely agree with clustering by genre or perhaps even the player archetype. So we all know that there are completionists out there, competitive players, social players. And I feel like if you're able to account for these concerns that I brought up, I feel that your model will in fact be very handy for local devs and game studios here in the Philippines. So good job, guys. I want to see more, but good job. Good job. I think those are all my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chelsea, and congratulations to Team Chat GPT. The fact that Chelsea wants to see more is proof positive that we are in the right direction with our capstone project. So congratulations to you, Team Chat GPT. Let us give a warm virtual round of applause now to the presenters and to you all, to our three teams for being such a talented bunch. And of course, to our audiences, you've been a great audience tonight as well. Let's send our congratulations to all our learners by sending over heart reactions or typing in the chat. Or katulad ni Fred ngayon, nag-send ng clap emoji. Let's all shower them with love, even though we're miles and miles apart from each other. Thank you as well, of course, to our panelists for bringing in such insightful thoughts. I know we're all amazed by our learners' insights tonight. Ako ang dami kong napulot. And we're proud to say that their impactful data gathering and project making does not end with our boot camps. Hindi po dito nag-i-end ang lahat. Our learners grow to be excellent key-shaped professionals who carry with them the growth mindset that they've learned from our boot camps. And we have Ace Kanakan as an example. Ace is an alumna of the Data Science Fellowship Cohort 11. Recently, he launched VizWiz, an LLM-powered data visualization assistant, and he's here to shed light on how to streamline data analytics with this tool. Mukhang madaming supporter si Ace, so without further ado, give it up for Ace. Ace, good evening. Are you here with us? Yun.
Hi guys, thank you so much. Okay, I think we should go ahead with the presentation. Okay, good evening guys. So a large language model is a machine learning model trained on vast amounts of text data to understand and generate human-like language. Next slide, please. We've seen how impactful LLMs are when ChatGPT was released, and it even gained over 100 million users. This has never happened before to any newly developed platform. Next slide, please. Now imagine merging this potential with data science. Take Pandas AI for instance. This newly developed library enables you to visualize and manipulate data without any code, but just with prompts. LLMs can truly change the data landscape. Hello everyone, I'm Ace, an alumnus of the Data Science Fellowship and also part of the Mentor Pool. Today I'm very excited to share with you a project that I've made called VizWiz. Next slide, please. Picture this. You've got a raw dataset, and with an LLM, you can turn it into a complete notebook together with all of the code that you need. And let me show you how it actually works. Next slide, please. Here's a rundown on how the app works. First, you upload the CSV file and it analyzes the head of the data frame. Next, it interprets the dataset as a whole and each of its variables. And then it's going to generate a series of questions about the dataset together with its corresponding blocks of code. Lastly, it's going to export the output into a Jupyter notebook that can be run in an IDE. Next slide, please. Thanks. The first thing that you're going to do is you'll be uploading it in a CSV file. The dataset that we'll be using is about cars and their specifications, such as their speed and where they came from. The head of the dataset is printed to give us context about the data before we dig in deep. That's what usually happens when you're working with data. In the background, the LLM is interpreting the dataset as a whole and also each of its variables. All of the interpretations will be separated and they're going to be stored in individual text boxes. The reason why they're in text boxes is that it allows you to verify them and even edit them when needed. Let's take a look at the variable here in the acceleration variable. And it's not exactly correct, so we're gonna correct this one and edit this into the right meaning. It says here it's a change of velocity over time when it actually refers to the acceleration rate of the car. So it's important to change the interpretation that the questions will be accurate to your dataset and also of your goals. So assuming all of the interpretations are correct, we can go ahead and press submit. When you press submit, the LLM will generate a set of questions about the dataset, and each of those questions will have its corresponding block of code. There's even a block of code here for the prerequisites, where it imports the necessary libraries, and it also loads a dataset into a data frame. Let's take a look at an example here. It shows the question, what is the distribution of the MPG variable in the dataset? In this one, it shows that it was able to use the right function. It uses the histogram because it's a distribution and even used the right variable. And we're going to look at the different codes here, but we're going to see them in full light when we run them in the IDE. And that leads us to my favorite feature of the app. You can actually export the entire output into a Jupyter notebook and you can run it in any IDE. We're going to download the Jupyter notebook now. And we're now here in the IDE and we're just going to run the entire notebook here. And here's all of the code that the LLM has written. And there's a visualization over there. And every single thing here was written by the LLM. Not a single thing was written by me. And there's even a box plot. So let's take a look at the first question again, which is a distribution of the MPG variable. It really did use the right function plot, and it even used the right variable. So it was able to display the histogram just like in what we're seeing right now. It's really cool. And then yeah, I want to emphasize all of this was written by the LLM. Not a single code was written by me. So let's take a look at another question, which is the relationship plot between horsepower and acceleration. So in a relationship plot, you're gonna use a scatter plot. So the cool thing here, the LLM knows what to code and even knows how to code it. So here are all the different codes, all the different plots, and yeah, that's VizWiz. Next slide, please. Sorry, next slide, please. Okay, VizViz really shows the capability of LLMs to leverage data professionals. By automating repetitive work, they can focus on the more complex and creative aspects of their jobs, like critical thinking and creating ideas. In return, providing more impact to their organizations and communities. Next slide, please. LLMs can even take part in democratizing data science. By making the complexities of the field more approachable to the everyday person, we can expect a flood of new data-driven solutions applied to various sectors. Next slide, please. But LLMs are so much more. Unlike conventional machine learning models that need very specific adjustments, LLMs are very, very flexible. Let's look into more applications of this tech. LLMs have shown great content generation capabilities. With this, they have a capacity to act as a bridge, linking a raw idea into a tangible starting point. Let me introduce to you another project of mine called SwimGPT. For those of us who enjoy swimming but find it challenging to create a training program, SwimGPT offers a solution. By inputting factors like competition type, available equipment, and swimmer specific, the app uses the LLM's feature to generate content in order to draft a training plan. Now that's one use case, and let's take a look at another one, which is also my favorite use case of LLMs. Next slide, please. Now, my favorite feature of LLMs is their game-changing impact on chatbots. With LLM's language capabilities, we're witnessing the emergence of true chatbots. They evolve from being just scripted tools into conversational entities. Next slide, please. Thanks. Resilience, another passion project of mine. Inspired by my journey going through cognitive behavioral therapy, Resilience uses an LLM that mimics the dialogue one might have with a mental health professional. This is an exploration on how AI can make mental health services a lot more accessible. Next slide, please. There's a central theme that I want to underscore here. It is the deep human connections that LLMs enable because of its natural language features. The magic of LLMs really is in their capacity to revolutionize the way we interact with technology. Next slide, please. And everyone should have a part in this developing tech. That's why I urge you guys to think of anything you do or experience in life, no matter how minor it might seem, and ask the question, how could LLMs be incorporated into it? That's all, and thank you very much.
Wow, grabe Ace. Just producing GPTs and LLMs LLM power data left and right. Incredible, Ace. Your expertise and innovativeness is truly an inspiration for project makers and data dreamers like us. Really impressed how you have 4 or 5 apps that you produced for GPT or for LLM. Incredible work. If you have any questions for Ace, please on the Dory link that is we're working on. Demo Fest is not the only upgrade this year, but also our learning sprints. The learning sprints are team-based, time-boxed learning courses focused on helping learners build a data project. Let's hear it from Angela Chen Delantar, CEO and co-founder of Eskwelabs, to introduce you to our generative AI sprints. And again, if you have questions, just place them in the Dory link. Angela, go ahead.
Thanks, Val, and hi, Val. I haven't seen you in a while. I think my energy just increased at least 2 times by Ace's presentation. So thank you for that, Ace. So I'll share my own screen, but would love to know from you, what did you learn from DemoFest? What is something that you just heard or in the prior presentations that you're excited about? Let us know, or let me know what that is in the chat. And you can continue to share what you learned throughout the rest of the presentation. Okay, the one thing that I am excited about and I learned is ACE's project. So I already knew that I would be excited about this, so I placed this here in advance to say that I think what you showed is incredibly exciting, and the future fellows in our data science program will actually get to do one full sprint where they will use and integrate their data skills with now these emerging technologies to create something that previous fellows were not able to do. I think what's exciting to me is that actually something that I've already seen inside Eskwelabs is that our non-technical team members have already started to use these tools as well. And we know that with really the integration of OpenAI's technology into Microsoft products that will be publicly available in the coming weeks and days, this will just make these productivity apps even more commonplace. So imagine working inside a company where not just the data professionals are empowered, but the entire company is empowered as well. So then what's next, right? What's next for you, and what else is there to learn? In the very early days of Eskwelabs, I think people really saw boot camps as a way to accelerate learning, to learn something faster. But I think all of our graduates, our mentors, and everybody in the Eskwelabs ecosystem can attest to is that actually what we are convincing people to do is lifelong learning. Is not just that you can go through an accelerated way to learn, but actually you can do that repeatedly throughout your life, even after you leave the university and make the workplace your classroom. So given Ace's presentation, it's good for us to think about the bigger picture, right, of what is changing in the future of work and how does that impact us personally. So I would love for you to take a guess at the question of what is the estimated percentage of the current work that's being done in the global economy that can be done by generative AI. So that could range from 0 to 100, right, in terms of a percentage. So just type your answer in the chat, and there's no wrong answer. I'm not a chatbot, but yeah, I will tell you if that number is too high or too low. So just shout out a number. What do you think is that number? The percentage of current work in the global economy that can be done by generative AI. Okay, so I see 2 numbers right now, and the average of them is very high. Oh, the average has just become even higher. So I can tell you that those numbers are way too high. It's much less than that. In fact, it is a fraction of that number. Even lower, Michelle. Even lower, Mariel. Yes, it's 25%. So I was actually also surprised by that number because it felt like 100% of my work was being affected by generative AI. But I think, in the context of everything that's being done in the global economy, you can imagine a fraction of that work is done at a desk, right? There's still work that is being done in the care sector, right? In other physical work where, generative AI is not touching that. There's maybe other parts of automation that is. But I think that is the starting point to contextualize, okay, how big of a deal is this for the global economy? But then when we take a look at our individual work, that percentage is probably much higher, right? It's probably closer to the numbers that we were seeing in the beginning. And specifically, one of the questions that I was very interested in is who will benefit? Who are the people that can make generative AI impact positively 100% of the work. And the most interesting study that we found is one from Stanford and MIT that was actually done with 5,000 customer support agents who work in the BPO industry in the Philippines. So it's not widely publicized as a study, but it's definitely something that I think that represents really the best opportunity for what those AI tools could do. So in this study with the 5,000 BPO workers, they found that when they were given an AI tool to help guide customer CX conversations, those who saw the biggest increase in productivity were actually those who had the least experience. So less than 6 months of experience working BPO. And that improvement was almost, well, it was more than twice of improvement as compared to those who were more senior. So that actually means that junior staff, right, can expect the highest change in productivity by working with generative AI tools. If we extrapolate that, what that means is what Ace just presented, those tools are actually going to be the most powerful for junior data analysts, junior data scientists, right? Those who are just starting in the field, AKA those who are learning with us, right, our learners. So that's why what I saw was particularly exciting for me. And so one of the things I think we found very helpful to really think about inside of our current workflows, right, in my team, how can we make sure that that uplift gets captured and generative AI is lifting everybody's productivity, is to be very intentional about how we're using the tool, right? Because at the end of the day, it's a tool. So what do we want to automate? What do we want to augment? And what do we want to actually keep? Here it says manual, but actually I would say human, right? What do we want to keep 100% human? So of course, you probably already know a little bit about what's the difference between automation and augmentation, but I'll just give you an example. An automation would be where you write a script to find missing values in a data set. And because you hate doing that and you just want it to go away, right? So that would be automation. Augmentation would be where similar, I think, to what Ace just showed, that would be augmentation because there's still some intervention from the data analyst that will then work together with the tool that was built. So we have another game, and we've done this also inside our team to really think about what would you automate, augment, and keep human. So yeah, I want you to just share with us your thoughts in the chat. I kind of have an idea of what the answer is going to be because I tweaked the choices to be like that. But which one would you automate? Which one would you augment? And which one would you keep human? And why? And don't say you want to automate everything because that means your job would be at risk potentially, right? And of course, we know that not everything is automatable or should be automated. And there are many things that are still very valuable to keep human, right? Including us being here together and really the process of learning at Eskwelabs with mentors still involves human. Okay, so I see Ronald says one you would like to keep manual, 2 automate, and 3 augment. Yeah, that's very interesting. For me personally, I want data cleaning to go away because the example that I gave is like, okay, this is the stuff that you hate, make that go away. And I think it's really interesting to see the answer for the others, like whether or not you would want the viz part to be augmentation or would you want to keep that manual? I've definitely found that the value, right, in getting business outcomes is being able to communicate with business teams. And unfortunately, that's the part that I think most people have the biggest challenge with. And that's actually what I hear back, feedback from companies, right, who have hired our graduates that say, hey, they're really great. The code is good. You know, they've got good fundamentals, but they can't communicate with the business stakeholders. And so I imagine if I was that person, I would potentially want that to be augmented. So something can help me, like a tool can help me. Or I would want that to be human so I can become better at that skill and I would invest in that skill. So this is a very simple framework, but I hope that helps you think about your work, whether it's in your job now or in the job that you'll get after the program, what are the parts that you want to automate, augment, and keep human? And how does that relate to what are the skills that you want to develop more of, right? If you want to automate almost everything, then you need to also start picking up new skills to be able to do that automation as well, right? All right. So yeah, with that, I've got some very exciting announcements that we're actually not making fully public yet, that because you're at the session today, we are going to share with you about what's coming up next for us, and what else is also happening at Eskwelabs. All right, so a quick demo part of what we have achieved together as well. So as you know, Eskwelabs focuses on delivering high quality online learning experiences, preparing individuals and teams for the future of work. And to date, we've achieved amazing learning outcomes for our learners in terms of the educational side, as well as the job placement side. And more importantly, we've done that in not an automated way of learning, but human-centric way of learning with mentors. Earlier, Ace mentioned that he's in the mentor pool, and so I'm happy to know that you're one of the 500 mentors we have in the pool, where 1 in 5 is active at any time. And all of our learning is mentor supported in a way that you don't get to have if you just go on YouTube and watch a video. There's nothing wrong with that, but to support the transformation that our learners go through, we really believe that the mentor supported way of learning is the most effective. And finally, this is something not everyone here will have interface with, is that actually since 2021, Eskwelabs have worked alongside not just companies in the placement side of our learners, but also universities and governments and philanthropy to deliver impact to more learners who are at different stages of learning and who are really diversifying the learner base of who are we bringing to the field. And so to that end, we've got some news about how we are also giving ourselves a refresh in terms of how we can connect with all the stakeholders that we have better. So yeah, in line with that ambition, we are going to be soon publicly announcing, but sharing with you on this call that we are giving ourselves a brand refresh. And we will be launching with the name CoLearn Labs, and actually a tweaked and more curated version of our mission and vision to build a future where work is meaningful and education is kind. So again, it's not fully public, but we're already starting to share with those in our ecosystem about this news. So what's next for us is our bootcamps are also getting a lift with generative AI content. We've already launched some things that are on the augmentation side, like we have in the data analytics bootcamp, a mentor that's an AI bot that can help students answer some questions. And this is our offer to you. We are going to be iterating on the Innovate with Data program that we do with the Asian Institute of Management. And that program will actually start to focus on generative AI tools for those with non-technical background and what that means for them in their workflows for augmentation and automation. So yeah, to do that, we're launching some free generative AI workshops next month. And so since you're one of the first people to hear about the brand refresh, we also invite you to come to the colearnlabs.com website, where you can sign up for these workshops and learn more about the new programs we're going to be launching in the fall. So yeah, thank you very much. And I hope you're excited as we are about what we've seen today and everything that's yet to come.
Thank you so much, Angela. And we're so excited for the brand refresh from Eskwelabs to CoLearn Labs. Truly is exciting times for us. AI has been a hot topic recently, so we are glad that Eskwelabs, now CoLearn Labs, will provide an avenue for us to feed our curiosities. I hope AI will not replace my job as host and moderator. Para patuloy pa rin tayo mag-host for the demo fests that are coming up. All right, the Eskwelabs team. Thank you so much for that, Angela. And now the Eskwelabs team has sent over a short feedback form and launched a Zoom poll for your comments and feedback. And we take your feedback very seriously. And we will be using this to improve our events in the future. So please do give us your feedback. Click the link so you can give our feedback and also answer on our Zoom poll. We are inviting all panelists and learners to stay in the Zoom room, panelists and participants to stay for a photo. Please do stay for a photo as we will be having that in a while. All right. As you're answering that poll, as promised earlier, we are giving all cohort 12 applicants who are here tonight a special discount code. The assessment deadline for the Data Science Fellowship is fast approaching, so do not forget to sign up and take that assessment by August 18, 2023. And once you pass the assessment, you will be invited to a fit interview, and that's where you can inform our admissions team of the promo code to get a discount of $500 on your tuition fee. You can also apply the code to our data analytics bootcamp, and the assessment deadline for the bootcamp is on September 15, 2023. Please take note that the promo code is there flashed on your screens. It's capital DSDAC12DF500. Take a screenshot of that, look at that, save that, memorize that, so you can get your discount code when you continue your assessment for the program. So what are you waiting for? Sign up for cohort 12 now, as in now na, before you go to sleep and do your skincare routine for the night. Thank you so much once again for having me at Eskwelabs, Co-Learn Labs. It's always a pleasure to be able to host and moderate your demo fests where we can reimagine the future with data thanks to the brilliant capstone projects of all our learners. This was your host and moderator, Val Vesteel. Till next time, good night, everybody, and have a great week and weekend ahead. Bye.